All right, guys, crypto bros are insane, and I need your help and your donations to educate people about how things really work, to look at reality, and also, more importantly, to buy myself some islands, Lambos, and jets. And you know, BitBoy did this as a plea for donations, and he got over $100,000. Maybe for his legal fund, maybe just to buy a new Lambo. And this is despite the fact that he literally said in his videos that he made over $1 million a month from his channel. So he has enough money to pay his legal bills and buy his Lambos. But despite that, all of you donated over $100,000 to BitBoy to do whatever he wants to do. So I'm going to leave both my Venmo, my PayPal, and of course you can just hit the dollar sign at the bottom of this video to give me a super chat donation. So the crypto bros, they've been trying to permeate this thing that the dollar is failing, which it's not, that BRICS is becoming super powerful, which it's not, and the US is collapsing, which is also not. So they're fabricating this pretend world that you should invest based on this news. And if you invest based on this news, you're going to get wrecked. I mean, I guess if you buy crypto, it's fine because either way you should buy crypto and it's perfectly fine, but you shouldn't buy because of those reasons. And of course, coin maxis, whether the XRP army, the Bitcoin maxis, the Chainlink Marines, whatever other group you think of, they're always thinking that their coin's going to take over the world, despite the contrary evidence over the last multiple years that no coin is actually taking over the world. And their coins use cases are very, very limited. And like, other companies are using these technological solutions, but they're not using the coins. So this crypto actually has a limited use case for a lot of those communities. Bitcoin is obviously a good store of value. I won't deny that. At least for like the next 10, 15 years, it's a very good store of value. But it's not really that great for transactional use. You can use Lightning, of course, but you can't build any apps on top of Bitcoin. Ethereum, we've all seen Ethereum's problems. Yes, like, you know, they're trying to make everything an Ethereum layer 2, but the base chain is awful and the fees are really high. XRP's use case, it doesn't have smart contracts. XLS30 might sort of solve that, but not really. Hooks, you're going to have to fork XRP. And the whole money transfer thing, Swift, R3 and others, they're actually using methods to transfer money between borders that actually don't use crypto. They're actually live and in production right now. So XRP's use case for transferring money across borders is going to be limited to fairly small corridors. And I don't think it's going to have an effect on the price. If you actually look at, like Ripple's own statements, they've basically increased their cross-border transfer value from tens of millions to tens of billions in the last 5 or 6 years. And despite that, there's been no price effect at all. So I doubt that's ever going to affect price. So the thing is, like, I don't like those aspirations of $10,000 XRP, it taking over the entire derivatives market. That's more or less nonsense. I mean, they've been spouting that stuff literally for 5 years. And according to them, it should have happened in 2019, even before the lawsuit hit, and it really didn't. And half of them were like, oh, it's going to immediately go to its all-time high after the lawsuit. I think like John Deeden even made a thread predicting that. And of course, it didn't. They're like, you're going to see the true value of XRP right after the lawsuit. And banks are going to jump in right afterwards. It's been about 2 months, and banks are not jumping in, and you're seeing the true value right now. It's like 50 cents. It's not like $10,000. So the same thing with like, a lot of people are shilling Casper right now. I do think it's a decent project, but it has problems, especially with its smart contracts. And I don't think like trying to be the next Bitcoin is really a thing. No one really wants the next Bitcoin. They only like Bitcoin because it's first and all the money's trapped there right now. So this one coin, I'm going to dominate the world and it's going to make me a trillionaire on my $100 investment. Not going to happen unless you got lucky, picked one of those things like Pepe when it was like really low when it first started and then just like sold at the top. That's pretty much the only way. But you might as well be spinning slots for that. So you shouldn't really listen to any of those maxi pads or any of those maxi influencers for that. You should actually look at reality, look at the economic situation, and invest in DCA accordingly. That is by far the best strategy. And that's the secret sauce, patience and DCA. George does advocate this DCA thing, and I agree with him. Yes, you should take opportunities and try to buy the dip at times, but you shouldn't try to time the exact bottom. Like right now, it is the time to buy. The time to buy is not 6 months from now. It's right now. 6 months from now, I believe the prices are going to be significantly higher than now, and you won't make as much money as you do now. So the thing is, like, stop listening to crypto conspiracy theorists that say the dollar is falling. The dollar is not going anywhere. It's going to be the dominant currency 10 years from now and 20 years from now, simply because there's nothing to replace it. Bitcoin is way too volatile, and none of the altcoins can even come close. The other thing is Bitcoin's backed by the US military. So, and the US military isn't going anywhere. It's going to be probably the strongest military for the time to come. I mean, you're seeing like how number 2 and number 3 stack up against the United States in terms of military might. They're not even anywhere close. You've seen how Russia's military was supposed to be number 2, has performed in Ukraine not very well. And China's military, I don't know if it's really any better. The reason China doesn't really attack Taiwan is because they don't believe they can actually win if the US intervenes. If they thought they could win in Taiwan with the US intervening, they would have attacked a long, long time ago. The whole thing with BRICS is they're not a united alliance. They don't have any real interest economically, geographically, politically, or culturally that actually align with each other. 2 of the biggest members, India and China, have been constantly skirmishing on the border for decades now. India actually hates China. And China is actually at odds with pretty much everyone in East Asia. They're at odds with like Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Korea, Japan, everyone you can think of in that region. They don't really have any allies in that region because they're constantly trying to expand their territory. So the thing is, like, the whole BRICS alliance thing just doesn't really work. And plus, look at 2 of the main members. I think South Africa's economy is like not doing very well right now. But look at Russia and China. China's economy is on the brink of collapse right now. There have been hundreds of rural banks that are in trouble. And those people that have their money at the rural banks, unlike the US, where if your bank fails, the government will bail you out, those guys in like Henan province, they haven't seen a penny like a year after the banking collapse. The government doesn't really have the money to bail them out, and there's going to be a lot of protests. Plus, the whole shadow banking thing in China, which is worth $3 trillion, is about to fall apart because one of the biggest shadow banks has failed to actually make payments. So there's a lot of stuff wrong with the Chinese economy. Plus, like, you know, they have like a 40% youth unemployment rate, youth being 16 to 24, that's not in school. Our unemployment rate can be fairly high. It's not nearly that high. And the thing is, you have to look at like all these people from those countries, they want to come to the US. They want to go to Europe. No one from the Western world is running to go there. So just by that, you can tell things are a lot better here than they are there. And the economy in the US isn't nearly as bad as people actually make it out to be. It's way better than pretty much anywhere else in the world. I mean, yeah, there are like little city-states like Dubai, Middle East, and stuff like that that are doing really well. But if you look at the major economic powers like Europe, like China, Russia, they're all doing way worse than the United States. And people from Russia and China, they can't wait to actually come to the United States. They would do anything to get to the United States, but they just can't come here because we have immigration limits. Here's a food for thought. We wouldn't need immigration limits if everyone didn't want to come here. The reason why we have so many immigrants here and that people are fighting for immigration limits is because everyone wants to come to the United States. And why does everyone want to come to the United States? Because we're better than everyone else. Same thing with Europe. A lot of people want to go to Europe. You know why? Because Europe is better. Despite all the signs of doom and gloom, everyone, when in action, knows that the US is still doing better than their country out there. Like, China's GDP is probably mostly fake and generated. It can be much lower than what they actually purported as. We know that like their population trends, the government's just been making up BS about births and deaths. We know that China's population is shrinking, and that's going to be a huge problem for its economy in the future. But like they won't admit that. They'll just make up numbers, and they're probably making up numbers for their GDP. And there's already been kind of like some research into that, although it's very hard because the Chinese government doesn't allow access to their records. Russia, despite how Vladimir Putin's saying their economy is growing and doing just fine, you can actually look at the truth on the ruble exchange on the ruble's value on the international exchange. They had to hijack it by the interest rates by 20% to keep it from completely falling apart when the war started. And about 2 months ago, they had to have an emergency session to hijack the rates by 13% to keep it from dropping against the US dollar even more. So their basically economy is just completely going down the drain, as you can tell by their currency completely going down the drain. Those emergency hikes only work so many times, and right now it's not working as well as it did the first time. It didn't really jack their ruble up in value once they did the 13% hike, and it's continuing to go down. So you can tell like 2 of the main members of BRICS, China and Russia, the economy is like basically going downhill, and they're going to lose some prominence in the world. India is the only like core BRICS country that's actually doing very, very well right now. but they're actually more aligned with the West than they are with China because of the territorial disputes between India and China. We've all mentioned this on previous videos before. And the thing is, like, these are the things that these like dollar is collapsing YouTubers, which like is almost every one of them, are not willing to talk about and not willing to mention because their narrative wouldn't actually work. And they're trying to get you to watch them and maybe even invest on these fake narratives, which aren't real. Now, is the dollar going to lose prominence over the next 50, 60 years? Yeah, I can actually agree to that because, you know, like it might be just too dominant right now. It's going to remain the dominant currency for like probably like within my lifetime. It's not going to really change, but it's not collapsing like imminently. And BRICS really isn't that powerful of a force because their people aren't united. Some people are like saying the oil countries are joining BRICS. It's going to make them more powerful. Yeah, but we already have OPEC. So what's the difference? Like the thing is like the OPEC countries, they might want to settle in the Chinese yuan or the Indian rupee, but they're just going to trade it directly for dollars afterwards because they don't want to hold those currencies. At least not like the Russian ruble or the Chinese yuan. So, and the thing is, like, the Chinese yuan, they don't really want too much of because you can't trade it freely on the international market. So that's not even really a thing right now. So the thing is, like, they create these fake economic, like, conundrums in the world, saying, like, the U.S. is going to fall, the dollar is going to fall, and, you know, like, there's going to be things to replace it. Dollar's not going anywhere. The crypto isn't going to replace the dollar. The best it can do is be a parallel economy to the dollar, which would make it actually a great investment. Don't get me wrong, it's a great investment, but it's not going to replace the world economy. It's not going to replace the dollar. Bitcoin can be a store of value, at least for the next 10, 15 years. Bitcoin has problems with mining in itself. And like, you know, all these other coins do have their own little use cases, but they're not going to replace the overall economy as a whole. And if you're investing with these maxi pad ideas that somehow you're going to have generational wealth on a $100 investment on these coins that already have tens of billions of dollars in market cap, you're going to be very disappointed. Once again, you need a DCA and you need to be very, very diverse. You need to be diversified in it. Think about all the XRP maxis over the last 5, 6 years. All these maxis, basically all these shillers, basically came out after the 2017, 2018 bull run. And you've basically made nothing. Absolutely nothing if you actually bought XRP like after the 2017, 2018 bull run, because it's still at 50 cents right now, whereas pretty much a lot of other coins in the top 10. Had you just diversified, invested in those, you'd be raking in the dollars right now. Look at Cardano. It was like 1 cent back then, and it's like 30 cents right now, and you could have sold it like, you know, $3. VeChain, you know, like same thing. It's about 4 times higher this cycle than last cycle. So many of these things, and VeChain wasn't even a really great performer either. But you could still have gotten like over like 100x off of it if you actually sold at the right time. So the thing is, like, that's why you actually need to diversify in different coins. Stop paying attention to the maxis. Look at the actual economic conditions as they are. And basically just take information at the surface and stop looking for plans within plans or like something like hidden beneath the waves. Because truth be told, the people that actually try to look for plans within the plans or things that are hidden underneath, they haven't done as well on their ROI as people just took the information at the surface and ran with it and invested in it. Because the information on the surface happens to be right about like 98% of the time. And the stuff that come up with, it's hardly ever true. You know, like the world does run on certain news headlines and certain trend lines in the economy. And like, you know, like people who have been talking about a USA collapse, they said it would collapse 2 years ago. They said it would collapse last year. And they're saying it'll collapse this year and then next year. It's not going to happen. So if you're investing, betting on those things, you're going to lose out. If you just invest looking at the trends right now, looking what the Fed is actually saying right now, even looking at what Jerome Powell is saying right now, you're probably going to do a lot better than if you listen to those conspiracy theories in crypto, because those conspiracy theorists in crypto are insane. Like, crypto, unfortunately, attracts all the Alex Jones crazy people. You know, the guy that said there was a gay child sex colony on Mars or something stupid like that. You know, like crypto attracts the worst conspiracy theorists, and their theories are wrong pretty much 100% of the time, but because it's groupthink, everyone still thinks their theories are going to become true. I don't think any of those maxi pad groups have ever gotten anything right in regards to like price or adoption. Because let's be honest, like all these transactions, they all work in fiat currencies right now. Crypto's been around for like over a decade. And yes, while it will actually gain more traction, it's never going to replace fiat. I've said this multiple times over the years, and it still remains true. You know, the people that have been yelling for dollar collapse and US dominance collapse, they're also not looking at reality. They've also been yelling for this for the last 20, 30 years. Actually, for as long as I've been alive, because I remember during the first Gulf War, where my first memories were, like 30 years ago, during 1991, and I know some people have said even before that, they were like, oh my gosh, the US is going to collapse. They have their hands in way too many things. Well, 30 years later, here we are. It's still the dominant country. And 20, 30 years from now, it's probably still going to be the same thing. While will other countries have a little bit more power? Sure, I won't deny that. But the whole scheme of things is probably not going to change that much. So the thing is, if you just look at reality on the surface and you invest on the reality on the surface, you look at the economic cycles, you look at the 4-year halving, and you look at like, you know, job numbers and stuff like that, you're going to do a lot better in investment, in crypto investment and real investment than if you listen to crypto conspiracy theories, because they're mostly full of crap. And I need your funds to keep educating people on this. You know, that's why, like, you know, TA people, they don't do as well as people that just do DCA and ignore all the noise, but they do better than people that invest based on these conspiracy theories, because the conspiracy theories are pretty much always wrong. And TA is more of like a 50-50 or 60-40 affair, depending on how good you actually are. So the thing is, like, the people that have done the worst are the people that have invested on these conspiracy theories. Because if your whole coin is based on conspiracy theories, it's basically based completely on hype and stuff that doesn't actually exist. So people need to like stop listening to that stuff. And yes, I need to like keep teaching people to stop listening to that stuff. But more importantly, I need your donations to buy some things I really, really need. For instance, I really need this private jet. This costs probably $30 million. So I'm expecting at least $3 million worth of donations by tomorrow morning to go towards this. I also need one of these Lambos. See, this one's really nice. $419,000. I really like the insides of that one, but I don't have $419,000 because unlike BitBoy, I do not make $1 million a month on my channel. I have never made $1 million a month on my channel because mainly I don't really shill projects. I don't get paid to, I have never really gotten paid to shill a project that I haven't disclosed. I've had 2 sponsorships over the years and I disclosed them at the beginning of those videos, so I was not able to actually make as much. So I want one of these Lambos. I need hundreds of thousands of dollars in donations. I also want a private island, and these cost millions of dollars. So because of these things, like my private island Lambo jet fund, I am actually going to beseech you for donations for this. Remember, PayPal, Venmo in the description, and also you can just click on the dollar link and donate me money that way. So this is it. If you're willing to fund BitBoy, even though he's made millions of dollars on his channel, you can fund me because I haven't really made that much because I haven't shilled nearly as many coins over the years. And I have not taken nearly as many sponsors, although I've been offered over the years, because I just didn't really think it was quite right for me to shill those products. So in light of that, I think I need about $160 million to buy this island, or $100 million to buy this island. I need about $30 million to buy this private jet, and about $500,000 to buy one of these Lambos. So make sure to donate. This is also my Lambo fund, and I will accept donations in any way, either via the dollar sign, PayPal, or Venmo. Thank you very much. And remember, donate your money to me. I will see you guys later.